Hello, everyone, and welcome to a Sphere of Success. And when life throws us challenge and adversity, especially within our business lives, it can always seem that we are being the victims, that life is unfair. And let's face it, yes, it is. From my experience, bad things happen to good people all the time. And it's how we look at that and think, right, okay, well, instead of getting into a down and tailspin about it, is there learning opportunity? Can we look at personal development, business development? What is it that we need to change? Are we in ruts of behavior which cause certain things to happen that we're not aware of? And do we need an external pair of eyes? Do we need some assistance? Do we need to delegate what we're doing so that we don't keep on coming back to the same stuff? Or indeed, if it's come from left field, how do we handle it with composure, compassion, with the outcomes that we want? And today I have with us Jay Blake. He is a super connector, a gentleman that would take on the follow-up from your network that you need to get through to going to exhibitions for you and being that fractional salesperson, making introductions, etc. Always in the back of his mind, whenever he's doing anything, thinking about, you know what, I think that would be a great fit for X, Y, and Z, which one of my clients that is, in a beautiful way, which is congruent to your culture, absolutely looking to promote your business in the most value-based and ethical way. He's also an ambassador for net zero as well. So what's not to like? Jay, welcome.
Good morning, and thank you for having me on your podcast. It's really exciting to be here, and particularly at the time that we find ourselves in. So yeah, no, I really appreciate you having some time with you today.
Oh, it's a pleasure. And you know what? Because you told me off air, I'm going to ask you the question. You're getting married next week, which
I
is
am. Thank you, thank you, thank you,
congratulations.
thank you
Lovely.
very much.
Oh, lovely. And you've had a bit of a problem, haven't you?
We've had some fun, yeah, and I think that the reality is that sometimes things happen in ways that you don't expect, and it's always then a question of finding the good in that. So we had an Airbnb property which we realised late last week we hadn't heard from the host since we placed the order in the middle of last year. And so I responded to my gut feel, which was that we really needed to get to the bottom of what was going on. And I kept having to push back because we were originally told we needed to wait until 48 hours before we were due to be there. And of course, when you've got a list of suppliers from florists to makeup artists to minibus companies and etc., that we would need to change, we couldn't wait until there was only 2 days before to work out where to go instead. So we've now managed it. We've got a new location. We had another set of challenges when we spoke to all of the suppliers because some of them considered it to be too far to deliver. So yeah, we really have had a real we've had an exciting 2025 so far. Each day has had a challenge of its own for us to overcome. But as a result of that, we're stronger and we're stronger together. And as we refer to ourselves as Team Noah, and we do it together. And that's got no connection to either of our names. It's just that sense of two by two. We're working this out together, and really excited for the future. So no, it's all good. All
Oh,
good.
well, that's fabulous to hear. And there's some lessons I think that we can weave in to the theme of this podcast of,
Absolutely.
challenge and adversity,
Hmm.
because things do happen which are completely out of our control. There wasn't anything that in that you could have had a hand in. People say take responsibility for what happens in your life, but it's actually, I think, and I'd love your views on this and hear what you think, is when things happen, it's how do we show up?
It absolutely is. The word, if you said to me, what is the one word you want to leave people who've watched or listened to this podcast with? If there's one word I want people to leave with, it's called breakfast. Let me explain the concept of breakfast. You see, I should have checked this off air before, so forgive me, but I'm going to ask it anyway. What did you have for breakfast this morning?
Yogurt and
Brilliant.
blueberries.
Perfect. Okay. So can you change what you had for breakfast this morning?
No, because I've had
Okay,
it.
great. So why do we spend time trying to change things that happened yesterday or last week or last year or 30 years ago? So I am constantly saying to people, those people who are around me, family, friends, I will regularly say, but that's breakfast. And what I mean by that is it's happened. What can I now do as a result of that, rather than trying to change the reality that you had yogurt for breakfast? There is nothing any of us can do by planning, thinking, or anything else to change what you had for breakfast. And yet, as a human race, I watch people time and time again trying to change the fact that they went to school here, or they had this experience, or this happened to them in their relationship, or we can learn from it by all means. And I'm far from saying we shouldn't learn from it. I'm not saying we can't grow from as a result of it. I'm not saying we can't teach others because of our experience at all. I'm just saying that sometimes, in fact, the majority of the time, it's breakfast. We can't change that. Let's move forward. And even what happened 2 seconds ago, it's happened. You can't change it. Let's move on. How can we? I spend my life letting go of what's happened, accepting it as breakfast, and moving forward.
Very interesting concept. And I love that because it's something that everybody can relate to and understand. So you put that beautifully simplistically, quite a complex subject if we're thinking about that. And I'd like to unpack this a little bit more detail because no, I completely agree. I couldn't change what I have for breakfast. That's fine. But as a result, I'd like you to just help us now with the fact that if we're doing something on a regular basis that builds up over time into something that is hitting us in the face like a brick bat, what do you say to people? Because you deal with clients that are, then we can go into that in a little bit more detail. But what do you say to people when they're not getting the results that they're looking for? And you've asked them, what do they have for breakfast? And they're coming up with the same breakfast every morning, so to speak. What do you say to people then? How can you help them?
The first trick is to stop. We can continue doing the same stuff and constantly be surprised we're not getting different results. So the first trick is to stop and to take a moment and to go, okay, well, let's look at what we're doing. Let's look at who it is that we're trying to reach out to, who would benefit most from what we do. And then let's look at whether there are different ways of approaching that. Are there water? So I love the fact that to me, the world is a bit, I don't know whether you've seen the film Zootropolis, but to me, the world is a bit like Zootropolis, which is this amazing, it's very uplifting and amusing and all of that. But you walk into this world and it's made up of all of the different animals and all of the different creatures. And to me, it's always about understanding who is it we want to talk to, because you see the zebras, they hang out at the zebra pond, and the giraffes, they're in another part of the world. It's about saying, okay, well, where are these people hanging out? Because the people that you want to connect with will be hanging out somewhere. Are they hanging out at the local pub? Are they hanging out at the golf club? Are they on LinkedIn? Are they on Facebook? Where is that touch point? Where is the best place to be reaching out and speaking to those people? And I don't mean reaching out because you want to throw your leaflet down their throat. I mean, just go and make friends. Because actually, once we can make a connection, once we can build trust, once we can make that people want to work with us, I want to work with friends. That for me, then work stops being work, and none of us want to work. We all have either a need or a desire for a level of income and a level of lifestyle, but actually, why don't we enjoy it? Why don't we make it fun? And then it stops being work.
And so you are a super connector, Jay. Just tell us a little bit about what that is so that people can understand the concept of what you're talking about with these introductions and where people hang out.
So I have the privilege of working alongside businesses who want to make new connections. And that may be that they're looking for suppliers, it may be that they're looking for clients. It's a variety of things for a variety of people. And we sit down and first understand where they're at as a business and understand who it is that they're looking to connect with, how they can continue on their journey. So what I love to do is to spend that time to build that connection and really understand why those people would be benefiting. What is it about working with my client that will benefit the people that I'm talking to, so that I can be making the best connections possible for them, so that I can start to build those relationships, and then I can then make those introductions and connect the dots together so that they can proceed.
And so, with that, what would you say one of the biggest mistakes people make about thinking about how they're developing their relationships and where they're putting their energies?
It's really easy. It's natural. It's how we're made up as people, that we see the world from our perspective. And yet, if we only look at the world from how we see it, we will never get to where we want to be. If we can spend our time understanding it from the other person's point of view, now we're starting to talk. Now we're in a position where actually we can get the best out of it for everybody. Because if I am more concerned about you than me, for some bizarre non-mathematical reason, it eventually helps me, and not always from you. So my experience is the more we go out and help those around us and support those around us and deliver value to the people that we're working with, the more value comes back. But that value doesn't always come back in exactly the same way and in exactly the same place. And there's a beautiful quote then again, I don't know whether you've seen the program about the horse, the mole, and the boy. But Charlie did some amazing drawings and some amazing pieces of writing. And at one point, the horse is asked, "What is the hardest thing you've ever had to say?" And he quietly responds, "Help." And I think that as human beings, we can be very reluctant to ask for help. And yet, as human beings, we want to help those around us. So by providing clear ways of people being able to help, they feel valued, and that then perpetuates the relationship. So if we're willing to provide that help and willing to ask for it when we need it, then actually the world is a much more enjoyable place to be. Which brings us back to the conversation about the wedding and the various people that I had to reach out to and be willing to say, "I need your help." Phoning the photographer and saying, "Is there any chance of you, are you anywhere near the florists? Could you pick the flowers up on the way to come and take our photographs?" It's being willing to be vulnerable. I think it's that willingness to be vulnerable. And when we're willing to be vulnerable without there's a level, yeah, but actually I think we can all turn the notch a couple of turns and be a little bit more vulnerable. And by doing so, we can actually get more out of this thing called life, both practically and emotionally, spiritually.
The one thing is, it's very interesting that you said people want to help, and giving the gift of something to help you
Mm.
is a beautiful gift, because people get a lot. I know I get a lot from being given the opportunity to help people.
Mm.
When people are in business, some of the greatest challenges are, yeah, I've got a product that helps people, but people just don't want to be helped. How
Yeah.
can, I'm out there saying it can do this and it can do that. And I can see that from what you're doing, from your perspective, this is exactly what
Yes.
could be of benefit. But people go, no, they put a barrier up. I don't want to be helped in that sense. How can you, in what you do, help bridge that gap between the businesses that you work with and collaborate with and the people that you're speaking with, to be able to help them say, actually, you know what? Yeah, I do need that help.
I think the key word is trust. I talk about trust being my drug of choice, and I love it. I love the privilege of being able to build that trust. And until you have that trust, there isn't a foundation to be building on. So once you've built that trust, you can then ask those appropriate questions. You can get an understanding of where people are at. And once you've got that, then you can start to explain how And sometimes it's even easier when it's somebody else's product because it's me. Yes, you're a client of mine, but actually, when I'm talking about you to the people that you want to connect with, it's like I'm talking about a third party. Yes, you're a client of mine, and I would never hide that. But actually, being able to talk about it in that way and build that trust can often help people to understand how to get the most from it and why it would make a real difference to where they am and help to paint that picture. It's all about pictures. It's about painting that picture of what that future you looks like as a result of having made use of that service or that product. And why it's worth investing time and money in taking that on board and moving forward with it.
And so you've mentioned two things there. You've mentioned the third party element, and then you've mentioned the future you, painting the picture of what the future you is. And so I'd like to take those individually, if I may.
Of course.
And if you can go into more detail about the added value that both parties get from talking to a third party about the service that you're assisting your clients with.
And it comes back to something you said a minute ago. So you said, how are we seeing things? And we often won't see all of the benefits that we provide. So we offer a service, but do we understand the difference and the ripples that are going out from the stone that we throw into the water? Do we understand how that makes a difference? And actually, sometimes I think we can miss that and either oversell it or undersell it rather than presenting it to that individual in a way that makes sense to them. So what having me come along and do that, start those conversations for you does, is it just enables you to have the best presentation of the difference that you will make to that end person and get a real sense of why that collaboration opportunity or why making use of that product or service would work best for you.
And with regards to painting the picture
Hmm.
of what would be the future person, what would they be enjoying, what they'd be doing as a result of taking on board the service that you're
Yeah.
collaborating with. Talk to me a little bit more about that. So how you
Yeah.
go ahead and do that.
Again, it's about, in order to draw a future picture, we need a current picture. So we need to spend that time understanding what the current situation looks like and what is uncomfortable, perhaps, about that current situation, to then be able to say, and in my experience, having spoken to a number of people who've worked with this company, utilizing their skills has meant that they then feel like that. So how would it be for you once that was no longer a problem? How would it be for you? So to take the example of payroll admin solutions, how would it be for you, Mr. Accountant, if you weren't having to make sure that on the 23rd of the month you were always in the UK in order to press the button to get the payroll done? Actually, you knew that that was being dealt with for you, and you could get on with enjoying your holiday without having to be in the UK. How would it be for you to know that actually the HMRC are constantly changing the rules around payroll and gifts in kind and this, that, and the other, and you're not having to send your staff on training courses because actually Ruth Blake, as she will be next week, has done all of that training for you and is absolutely up to speed on all of the requirements and the needs. So to give you a tangible example, that's how it works. It's about putting it in how they are feeling and how they are what their points of pain are so that they can then really appreciate and understand the benefits of dealing and speaking to you.
And how would you help a potential client? The challenge is that we are, as people perhaps who want to buy services, but there's so much choice out there now. It's almost like paralysis by choice. How do we make that
Absolutely.
decision?
Yeah.
There's so much demand on our time, and we want to make sure, we get everything. And people are saying, right, who do I need to target? Who would be those people who would be ideally suited to benefit the most and get the most value from our service? How do we cope with the fact that the timing of that discussion is the right place at the right time with the right outcome?
I think there are two aspects. The work that I do isn't always that moment of it. It's much more about the long-term relationship. It's about building that community of people who will, over time, become clients. It's not necessarily resolving an instant sales challenge. It's about much more about the relationship side and building those connections, of which some will be ready right now. I think so often we forget that there is such strength in creating community, as you have done of your podcast listeners and viewers. You've got a community of people who are gaining understanding not only of what the people that you talk to are, but gaining an understanding of the difference that you're making to the world as well. And some of them will get to that point where they want to engage with your services yourself. So that it isn't just around who's going to be buying tomorrow or next week or this month, but it's about building that community and getting an understanding of the sorts of people that will come and be a part of the community, so that when they are ready, they can then make that journey from being somebody who's on the periphery to being right in the core to being actually engaging with our services. And so what I do is I take my clients on that journey and I help them to understand who they would want within their community, and then help them to build that by making connections directly or indirectly.
And with communities, people would say, how do you build a community? What's a community all about? Take us into a little bit more detail about that, Jay.
We are all in community, whether we know it or we don't. So we all live in a town, in a village, in a street. Those are all communities. We all, those of us who are part of social media are on LinkedIn, are on Facebook, and within that there may be groups that we have chosen to join for whatever reason is appropriate. So when we start to look at the way we travel through this thing called life, and we look at the different community groups we're in, we then can be much more decisive about where we engage our time and which communities we're putting that information out into. So our time today is being spent and being recorded, and that will then be shared out into various communities. So spending that time saying, okay, well, let's map out, let's get a piece of paper and have a look, digitally or real. Let's get it and have a look. Where are the communities we're currently in? And are there any communities we're missing? Are there, it comes back to what we said about watering holes. Are there watering holes that we're not dipping our toe in, that actually we could go once a month to and start to make those connections and find more of those people that would benefit from our services?
And this all sounds like a lot of hard work. What would you say to people that are thinking, right, okay, I'm embarking on getting these communities, regular engagement with those communities important, and I just haven't got the time? Is that something that you can help with?
It's certainly something I can help with. So I can certainly, they can maximize their time by utilizing me to do some of that on their behalf. That's absolutely something that I can help with. Time is one of those very bizarre things. We can choose how we use it, and how we use it can make a big difference. I talk to people about these devices we carry around that still have the word phone in it somewhere, but so infrequently do we use it for that purpose. Actually, just spending those moments when we've got when we're between tasks, or we're putting the kettle on, or whatever it is, just reaching out and having a brief conversation can make all the difference. So I think it's just we have so many things on our to-do list, so many tasks we need to complete, but actually just doing a little bit can make such a big difference.
And what would you say from the follow-up perspective? How important is follow-up?
Follow-up is imperative. Without follow-up, there is nothing. What I would also say is it's not about how we communicate, it's how they hear. So
say that again, because I think that's very valuable what you've just said.
It's not about how we communicate, it's about how they hear. So the number of times I will find myself on LinkedIn or Facebook or wherever, and I'm communicating via that messenger, and they'll say, I want to communicate to you via email. And I go, well, we can, but I don't touch my email. My email is all done by my VA, and she deals with all my email. So all of a sudden, you're no longer going to be talking to me. Now, it's not that I can't or won't. It's just that we've started this conversation here. This is clearly where I'm most comfortable. So if you're trying to sell what you do to me, telling me we need to go to another country or speak in another language isn't helpful. So I'm conscious that I also have to do that for others. So people that I'm talking to and wanting to engage with, if they are more comfortable on email, I have to get out of my comfort zone and sit where they're comfortable, because actually it's the joy and the challenge of having so many means of communication. So are they WhatsAppers? Are they texters? Are they people who would rather speak on the phone? Actually, are they people who'd rather have a video call? It's all about thinking about the people that we're dealing, and or is the best way, bearing in mind what your service is or what you're selling or whatever, actually is there sufficient value in the relationship of that individual that you need to go for lunch, that you need to go and have a coffee, that you need to meet up in person. There's lots of decisions to be made, but again, it's about spending the time and listening to them and doing what's right for them.
Well, interestingly enough, I've just had the most amazing discussion this morning with a gentleman from Indonesia. And so with the elements of making things a little bit more complex with the communication that we have, if you have an international business like I do, the opportunity to jump on a Zoom or have a WhatsApp call or communicate. I like to communicate where I can see people. So that's how we did that. But ultimately, if somebody said, I'm not comfortable, then I would think about the way in which we could maybe turn off the camera or have a chat over WhatsApp or what have you. And this is free. This is the wonderful thing with it. You know, I remember
Absolutely.
years ago on the phone, it would charge a fortune to have an international call, you know, and now we're doing this for free. How would you help people to make sure that communication in that regard doesn't take over and become like this Quatermass that all of a sudden you've got so much you can't cope with it?
We've all got lots to do, and as we run our businesses, we recognize that there are different things within our businesses that we need to do, and in our lives that we need to do, because life isn't all about business, and I'm almost at the point of pulling the plug until the end of the month, and disappearing down what will be a beautiful period of wedding and honeymoon. So it is about saying, do you know what? My Friday afternoon, that's when I'm going to make some calls. My Monday morning, that's when I'm going to focus on do some focused work. However, and again, we are beautifully different. We are all beautifully individual, and being you is perfect. Don't stop being you. So if for you, sending messages and emails and things at 10 o'clock at night, 11 o'clock at night, midnight is perfect for you, then maybe think about scheduling those so that they actually land the following day, because people can be a bit funny about that. However, don't stop being you. I'm rubbish. From 6 o'clock, 6 o'clock onwards, I'm out of spoons. Ruth, my fabulous fiance, has said that she's getting used to the fact that at some point she'll start talking to me and she'll go, "You've gone, haven't you?" And I'll just go, "Yeah, battery's empty. We're done. Start again tomorrow." And I'm getting comfortable with being me. And actually, I think if we can all get comfortable with being who we are, we can get the most value out of life, and we can help those around us to get the most value out of theirs. And that's what this thing called life is about. If we can all use our God-given gifts and skills and abilities to help those around us, we're not all supposed to be the same tool. We're not all supposed to have the same skills. We're not all supposed to be made the same. It's a question of finding those around us who've got the skills that we lack, and finding those around us that need the skills that we have. And then it all just works beautifully.
I love this because you know what, that you've just absolutely nailed it as far as I'm concerned. I have an outsourced business and have a podcasting business, which gives people a voice. And from that perspective, where you know that actually, you know what, I don't need to be doing this.
Yeah.
It would be better off if somebody else did it. Then delegate.
Yes,
Get it out
absolutely.
there. Stop having to work till midnight
Yeah.
because you just think that nobody could do it better than you, which is wrong because people
Yeah.
can. They
Yeah,
love doing
absolutely.
it
Yeah, yeah,
and
yeah.
they're better. They do it in half the time. There's not the errors. They're more
Yeah.
creative. So
Yeah.
absolutely, I completely understand that. And also, as you say, to know that you are just right as you are.
Yeah.
There's always room for improvement, but don't beat yourself up because
Yeah.
ultimately there is another day, there is another
Yeah.
second, and it
Yeah.
doesn't have to be like it was before.
And the converse of that is also true. There may not be another day. There may not be another second. So make the most and enjoy the current second, because putting off because you can't, you've got to focus and you've got to do, actually, you might not get tomorrow. So enjoy today. Tell those people that you love that you do, because that's really important. We can spend so much time busy because we've got to get busy with work. Make that call, pick up that phone, send that card, tell somebody that you care, because we don't know we've got tomorrow, but we all know we've got the minute that we've got. So let's use it well.
Beautiful words, just lovely. Tell people that you love them in a way that's not, I love you. It's
Yeah,
I
yeah,
love you. It's just
yeah, absolutely.
wonderful. And people absolutely they beam. It's a beautiful gift
Yeah,
to you.
absolutely.
Lovely. Jay, I have to say, oh, I wish you every good wish for your impending marriage.
Thank
It's
you.
just wonderful to hear.
Thank you.
It's just beautiful, beautiful beyond belief. I'm so pleased that thank you for starting out and sharing that
You're
little
very welcome.
incident you had because you know
Life is
what?
what it is.
It is, and it's how you show up, which I think is just fantastic, and your testimony to that. And what you were using is the word excitement rather than issues and challenges. You're actually thinking of it as an exciting time with dealing with these things at short notice. And
Uh,
yeah, if you didn't have to do it, fine, but you did. So
we did, and our body experiences excitement and fear in exactly the same way. The way the way it, the way we feel about it is exactly the same. So we can choose. It's excitement or it's fear. Let's get excited.
absolutely. And with that, how can people get excited about speaking with you?
Well, pick up the phone is a great way. I love talking to people. So my mobile number is showing above my shoulder. And reach out to me. If email works better for you, then j at jblake.uk, or find me on LinkedIn or Facebook or any of the other social channels. I look forward to having a chat.
Wonderful, Jay. Thank you so much for being such an awesome special guest. I've thoroughly enjoyed our
Been a real
chat.
pleasure.
I've learnt a lot as well. So thank
Good.
you. And everybody listening, thanks so much for tuning in. You know what? It's just wonderful to have you with us. I'm using the word wonderful a lot. I don't care. I think it's wonderful.
It is, as you are.
Bless. And yeah, if you're new to the channel, welcome. It's lovely to have you, or it's even wonderful to have you. There you go. We'll say it again. And we'll see you all again very soon. But just remember, like, comment, subscribe, and share because you never know who this may resonate with, and it could be just the thing they're looking for. So until next time, be successful and see you all again very soon. Bye bye now.